Well, tonight I have got my Mystic 29, or like everybody else would call it Miss Geico 29 or the BlackJack 29, but I went ahead and brought it out here to my shop and I completely gutted it. I have taken all of the goodies out of it. I even went as far as going all the way up in there and taken the original foam out of the center support. Now, my original plan was to take this lid here, and I've taken the liberty and I put this stuff here on it, and I'm going to put glass over this to reinforce it, because I haven't even really crashed this boat. I've only flipped it one time. And in doing that, because the plastic is 13 years old, this whole back section here cracked, and the same for the front little support. So, if we look at it from the rear, you can see the stress crack right there in the center. So rather than destroying something that is no longer created, I'm going to make a mold of it. But before I make a mold of it, I need to familiarize myself with fiberglass, with resin, with carbon fiber. Well, I've got it all the way cleaned out, about as deep and far as I want to. I went ahead and took the wood here. You can see the height that it used to be here in the back. I went ahead and cut it down. I left little channels right here for my cooling lines to get through. Went ahead and lowered the edges of these. I lowered this because the idea here is, before, the gap here was too tight to squeeze, you know, most of my 3S batteries through. I could get like one set of 3S batteries through here halfway decent if I went in through here. But remember, the motor sticks through about to here, so it kind of blocks that area from going here. So you gotta go this way. So I've opened it up here, and I took a little bit of that lip off. So hopefully won't be much of an issue. And if we look up in here, I've got 99% of the styrofoam cleaned off of it. What you see there is glue. So I don't want to chip on that too hard, because I'm afraid I would hurt the gel coat on the bottom. So, well, anybody who knows what they're doing, don't make fun of me. I think I've prepped everything as much as I can, as best as I can, just to give this a practice go. Well, I got 20 grams of this. So that means I need 10 grams of this. And I went ahead and I warmed this up to where it's not the temperature of my garage. Now, my garage right now is only about, I don't know, 70 degrees. It's not that bad in here. I had the wood stove going earlier, but it's not what they said, 75 to 85. So I had to warm this up a little. All right, well, I took my time. That's about as much resin as I used. I actually mixed it 3 different times, thinking I had enough, I had enough. I didn't want to do overkill. I don't want to waste anything, but I'll kind of show you how it is. I did 2 layers of the 0.75 chop strand mat, and then I did 1 layer of the mesh. And what I learned from the first side is, don't use such long pieces. So when I first did it, I tried to, you know, do a piece that was, I don't know, 10 or 11 inches long. And then I was frustrated by it, because it was just, it wouldn't contort where I needed it to. So then I took my next piece, which was 11 inches, and I chopped it into 3 pieces. And it was easier to stick way up in the front of the boat, because of it being like 3.5, 4 inches wide and then so long. So that's what I ended up doing. I cut them a little bit shorter to get them to the basically the front of the boat. I'm trying to know if my camera will get up in here. So I was having, now, and see, I can see it better with the camera. So I need to reach up in there with my brush and dab that up before it dries. But you can see the seam. See the seam? So I believe those were pieces of wood, and I really don't understand why they put wood there, but and they had 2 little strips of wood, so I have covered over top of that wood, and you can kind of see it right there in the middle of the screen. It worked good. And I got up about as far as I possibly could, which is pretty far. And what I was using, I'll show you here. I was using shish kebab sticks because they're so long. Which these sticks they were kind of helpful because they had a fine point on it, and you could lift this stuff up and drape it across it, put it in there, and tilt the boat sideways, and then plop it in. So it turned out actually pretty good. But now that I got that piece hanging, I'm gonna go ahead and get my brush and push that down, and I'm gonna see what the other side looks like. The camera and the light on the camera really helps to see how good of a job it was. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I probably will get some different fiberglass, maybe some 1.5, but I ordered 0.75 because I just felt like ain't no sense in going overkill, and I didn't know what I needed. So when you have projects, you need to get an accumulation of stuff to where, you know, you need this for this, and this for that, and this for this. So I didn't know what I needed. I was just sitting there making lists of everything I saw people use, so slowly accumulating it. But yeah, I'm just gonna let it sit overnight and see what happens. Well, it's the next morning, and I wanted to kind of show you how my very first time ever doing something like this went. So basically, if you look, you can kind of see where I put my chopped strand and then where I put my woven mat, and it actually turned out pretty nice. I got it down here. There's no bubbles or anything like that, so that's pretty good. I think like right here it's hard, so maybe some resin pooled there, but I took real good care of pushing it down to make sure it wasn't like a pocket below it. This is going to go in here just like this. So that's going to bunch up there, and then because I've already got some stuff from last night put in there, this is going to do the inside of the sponsons, and it's just going to curve just like so. And I've taken the liberty to provide cuts right there to where when I do that, it'll contour on both sides, and it won't buckle. Alright, I got a whole bunch of stuff pre-cut out. I've got these are going to be going on my motor mount, also going to be going over the wood that's going to cut out for the stuffing tube. There was my template, that's going to be the top piece, and this is going to be towards the front. I've got all these cut out. Went ahead and covered my boat in masking tape. So, got it pretty much prepped. I've already wiped it down with alcohol again to where I'm ready to go. Blew it out with the air compressor. I don't really see there being much of an issue. Now, I'm not really sure if I should start with a different piece of cardboard, but this is kind of what I got, so I'm just going to utilize it. It's dry. There's no worry about tack here. So I'm going to give it a whirl, and we're going to see. I've got a little bit of experience from last night, so I'm going to see if I can make it go a little bit smoother this time. All right, well, it has been, I don't know, about 2 hours. Been very slow, very methodical, meticulous, and I taught myself some hard lessons. So I had the big sheet of this, and I said, well, let me go ahead and do 3 layers of this over here, and I'll roll it out, and then I'll put 3 layers in the boat. That was the wrong idea, because the 75 is so thin, it will conform to the curves of the boat, and it's helpful. But once you thicken it up and put 2 or 3 layers, then it doesn't want to contort. It doesn't want to conform to those 90-degree edges. So I put it in there, got it laid down, and I started going over it. And every time I'd lay it, it'd lift back up. I'd lay it, it'd lift back up. So I pulled it out, separated the pieces, laid them in there one at a time, and I would lay it in there, and then I'd work on another area. And then I'd grab the piece about 10 minutes later, put it back in there, lay it on top of it, and do that one. It seemed to work okay. But I need to rub my hands down with alcohol. Even though I had gloves on, they still feel sticky. But I've had gloves on for like 2 hours. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, everywhere I touch the boat is sticky on the tape now. Let me go ahead and turn the light on for you. Alright, so let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. Alright, so you can kind of see, and now that I got light on it, I need to take my brush and dab that little piece down right there. But I went ahead and did the seams. So right along the side, I did 2 layers of 75 chopped string mat. They were basically like 8-inch long pieces, about 3 inches wide. And I had another piece that I couldn't use, and I went ahead and just chopped it up to where I could go ahead and put it on the seams. So the seams look really nice. Let's see if I can zoom in. So that one starts about right there. I didn't go back any further than that, but it starts right there, goes all the way up. I skipped the little spot where the water port was, and then that's where yesterday started right there. So turned out pretty good. I don't know, I laid one layer of chop string down on the wood, and then I put one layer of mat down, and then I tried to do it here. I'm trying really hard not to mess up my holes, so I just put one layer of the woven fabric right there just for shits and giggles. Getting this 90-degree angle bend right here where my finger is, that was a pain in the ass. I still need to go back and make sure it lays down, but I'm gonna see if I can show you all the way up in the nose. I don't think you can see it in there. Yeah, okay. I can barely get you a visual, but so you can see the layer. See it right there on the ceiling? I need to flip the boat upside down and pat it down, but I was able to get it all the way in the nose to where it'll stiffen the nose up. I wasn't able to get in the tip of the sponson, but I was able to get this section right here, and it comes to about right here on the top and right there on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a glove back on now, and this is how I had to do it. I had to take I used a paint stick yesterday to do it, but this is how I get all the way up in there and pack it in tight, and then I'll actually use this to push it into the fine, you know, the points. It seems to work pretty good. Cool. Well, once it all dries, I'll show you the final product. Alright, well, I've got the nose cone all filled with epoxy and some chop strand and basically all my leftover scraps. I don't really know if you can see in there. Let's see. The camera really does help, but it doesn't like to focus way up there. But yeah, I got a lot shoved up in there. I got probably about as much as you could cup in your hand shoved up in there. So basically it stops about right here. So this thing could theoretically take a front end impact. So I put the clamps on just to see if they would hold. I probably should have put tape on it and it would give me a little bit better grip. But they're holding right now. I have them barely touching, just barely. Like just enough to where it pushed down a little. I'm gonna go get my can of foam and I'm gonna foam this thing and be real delicate with it and sit out here for about 30 minutes while it sets up. Right, well, I've allowed about 2 hours to pass, and I just wanted the epoxy up in the nose to have time to set up. So what I've got here, I've got this cheap dollar store foam, and when you get foam, be sure to read the instructions. It says whatever you're filling, fill 33% of the way. Like, and then it also says to shake the can vigorously. Like, here's my hack on how I'm gonna actually get it all the way into the nose. So I took the stem that goes on the end of the can, and I stuck it into the tube here, and then I put a piece of heat shrink on it, and I heated it up. That way it's sealed. This is some marine stuff, so it's got the adhesive on it. So this should reach all the way into the nose, and I can basically spray it and drag it out as it comes. And then I can go to the middle, spray it and drag it out. And then I can go to the other side, spray it and drag it out. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, just got done spraying it. I'll try to stick it up in here and show you. See how I've left a gap? Now this is already quite a while ago, about 5 minutes at this point. So you want to leave plenty of room for it to expand. You don't have to be perfect with it, because the last thing you want is no room for the foam to go. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to keep watching it and see what happens. Give it about 10 minutes and it should fully form. Okay, it's been about another 5 minutes. stick it up in there and show you. Still got plenty of room. All the way up in there, I still got plenty of room. So don't have to worry about any distortion. It did. I'd put a Sharpie mark where I didn't want to come forward, and I stopped about an inch before the Sharpie mark, and the foam pushed over my Sharpie mark. So tomorrow, once it's cured, I'll have to go in there and I'll have to slice it because it's kind of gotten into the spot where I want to put my ESC. Well, it's the next morning, and let's see. It's all expanded. Looks pretty good. Even the fiberglass down here looks really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in there now. I know I got more over here on this side than I do on this side. So I'm gonna go in there now and get a knife. Probably I'm gonna use a heat knife. And I'm gonna go in there and cut this out and make it look smooth. And there's probably more weight on this side since there's more foam on this side. So I'm gonna try to clean some of that off. All right, got my carbon fiber out. There's a few little imperfections in it, but it is what it is. You know, I'm learning. So we're basically gonna take this, put this inside of that, something like so. I think I can do one full sheet, and then I'll have some extras on the side to where I can overlap it. Hopefully it turns out pretty good. All right, well, I went ahead and epoxied in my battery trays. And while I was letting those dry, I went ahead and did this. Check this out. Went ahead and did a carbon fiber underlay of the top hatch. And I actually went inside of here below this bubble, and I laid pieces in this teardrop shape. And basically I cut different triangles out, and then I used some of the chopped carbon to fit some of the, you know, the open areas. And then I laid this. I opened up my roll of carbon, and there was actually an imperfection in it within the first foot, which the imperfection was right here. So I went ahead and used that piece, since this is just for strength underneath, to where when I mold this thing, hopefully it won't contort. But yeah, turned out really, really nice. Well, I don't know who it was, but somebody recommended that I shorten my wires to my ESC. So I did just that. I took actually quite a few inches of wire out. I think I totaled about 8. And I took the 8mm connectors out because basically I was popping this off to where I can put it on the Spartan. But I made them nice and short to where they can reach both sides. And I've got the new carbon fiber battery trays in there. So I can now run the HCL HPs, the 6500 milliamp. So we're going to take it out, give it a rip, and see how it runs. It's cold out here. The pond is beautiful though. And I've got 6S running in this thing after all the work I've done. So hopefully it runs pretty good. All right, well, I'm out here running the Mystic. My GoPro, it just died on me because of cold weather. So I'm gonna take this thing out on the pond again. I just lowered the rear strut down. It's actually handling really well right now, but I wanted to lower it down because it was kind of porpoising. It runs so good. I gotta move the water port on the side because it won't allow me to move my battery. I think now it's trying to plow the nose. It's cold out here, y'all. I think it's running good. I've got the prop blast on it to where it's shooting up in the air. It's awesome. It is chilly out here. I'm gonna do a cool down. Added quite a bit of weight to it. Woo! Yeah, still 45. I just need a bigger pond, honestly. It's so cold out here, I can't make adjustments. I really think that okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring it in. I can tell that it's gonna get low voltages coming soon. Woo! It's cold, boys. Okay, I just brought it back in. Let's open it up. No smoke, that's good. It does smell a little hot. I thought I heard water in it as I was carrying it. Yeah, maybe. It's got water in it somewhere, somehow. I gotta figure out like the temp on this thing. Yeah, I turned the timing down. The timing was at 18, I turned it down to 11. I just think that motor is undersized now. So, ESC stays nice and cool. Yeah, I think the motor is undersized. So, I have got the Proboat 6-pole, the 2000 kV. I've got that coming for this. And I think that'll be an excellent upgrade for this boat. Because I think that's just too small for what I'm doing to it. Go ahead and check this. Okay. Yeah, okay. I still had a little bit of juice left, but I didn't want to keep running it. I felt like I had ran it long enough, so 3.8, not bad. Alright, yeah, see, I think my battery was probably sliding around. It kept wanting to curve one direction, which makes sense because this battery was up further. But I couldn't move this battery up because the water discharge port. I wondered about that when I was putting my batteries in. I was like, it may interfere. I may be able to go over it. So I got to take that out and I'll just put something over that hole. And then I'm going to make another one of these back here to where I can just, let it exit in the rear somewhere. But it ran pretty good. Let me show you. On the remote, it did 45 miles an hour. So that's not breaking any speed records, but I went ahead and ran my smallest prop. Didn't want to overheat it. But I did notice I'm spinning the liner. So the liner's starting to rotate on me. So I think what I'm going to do is probably try to pull this liner out and then do something. Either I might stick with the 150 cable, but if I drop a bigger motor in this thing, I probably will just pull that out and see if a 3/16 cable will just fit inside that stuffing tube without a liner. I'm not sure. I don't know the measurements on it, but cool. Well, turned out good. Carbon fiber top hatch, it did well. Stayed on, granted I used tape, but other than that, everything about it. Batteries are fine. Motor is a little warm, so I think I'm giving it too much for what that motor is capable of giving back. This would probably be a really good motor to put in the recoil too, honestly. It'd probably be a pretty tit for tat thing there, but it probably wouldn't be no better than the stock motor that's in it. being that it's an outrunner versus an in-runner, and like 3200 kV versus 1800 kV. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead, disconnect this thing, pull my batteries out of here, and then I think I got about 1 ounce of water in the hull, so I'm gonna go ahead and go drain that, and then I'm gonna start taking a peek to see if I can figure out where the water was coming from. So thank y'all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button.